Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 29 minutes. Fresh attacks in Bawku in Upper East region. One person reported dead. We'll bring you the latest. Also, Electricity Company of Ghana defends recent power outages amidst a 3 billion cedi infrastructure overhaul. And much later on the program, mounting concerns within Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools over growing difficulty in feeding students across second cycle institutions. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Let's start off on security. As one person has been killed and two others seriously injured in a Sunday attack by unidentified gunmen at Fadikafa near the Bawku police station. The women had reportedly returned from Bolgatanga and were moving further into the Bawku township when the gunmen opened fire, killing one. Two other women also sustained serious life-threatening injuries and have since been taken to a nearby healthcare center for urgent medical attention. Let's speak to Kashto Sanyala, a man following this. Kashto, describe the situation currently in the area following the attack for us.
Right, Beatrice, good afternoon to you and our listeners. Bawku is currently very calm. There hasn't been any reprisal following yesterday's attack, but we understand that a cross-section of the town is not happy over the attack. And Beatrice, let me add that this is not the first attack. There have been several attacks in the past months, but this one we're talking about particularly, we understand that the women were returning from Boga where they had gone to do their business and returning back, moving towards the township, further into the township when these unidentified gunmen, the gunmen who are yet to be identified, hit somewhere and opened fire on these women, killing one instantly and on the spot, and two others were seriously injured. And we understand that they are currently at a health center where they are battling for their lives. But that hasn't changed the thing.
Hello, Castro.
It's not.
Quite an unfortunate situation, especially coming at a time when we just had a member of parliament for the area, Mahama Yarga, who is also the majority leader, talking about some developmental projects they were going to start and asking the people to remain calm so that there would be stability for this developmental progress. What are people saying generally about this renewed, violence?
Yes. So, like I stated earlier, on a cross-section of the town, is not happy, and if you remember, the town has been sharply divided. So one side of the town is not happy following yesterday's attack. But as to what people have been saying concerning that and development, the general call has always been that there should be peace in the town for development to come there, because Bawku is arguably one of the biggest municipalities in the Upper East region, rubbing shoulders with a lot of other towns in the southern part of the country because of this its positioning and having two borders. And so the call has always been that residents should lay down their arms so that development can come to the area to reduce the suffering of the people. And that is what everybody says, including residents there.
Castro, do we know whether the suspects have been identified yet?
Not at all. The police have been very tight-lipped on this issue, and usually with issues of Bawku, the security agencies are usually very careful and they tread very cautiously because they themselves have, on a number of times, come under attack of these armed or faceless individuals who continue to attack people. And so no one has said anything, but what I got from my security sources state that they are on the beat and they are, have opened investigations, hoping to unravel the faces behind the attack and then to arrest the perpetrators. And let me add a quick one that there have been a lot of attacks all over the municipality at different locations at different times in the past couple of months. And this one particularly is the latest, where women were caught up in the attack and one woman has died.
Unfortunately, we also do understand that the police intends to extend rigorous patrols to this very area and other areas. What information have you picked on that as well?
Yes, not just the police, but the security agencies in Bawku, particularly the armed forces and the Ghana Police Service, have extended patrols rigorously to contain any, reprisal or any other further attacks that may happen around Farika Futa. That is the understanding we are getting right now, and I understand now that there has been deployment of, the police and that of the military, with the police also overlooking their walls, keeping the place safe and calm whilst investigations continue.
Thank you very much, Kashto Senyala. He's our Upper East Regional Correspondent, bringing us update on this latest unfortunate incident in Bawku, where a shooting incident has led to one woman dying and others sustaining injuries. We'll bring you updates as in when we have it. Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana has justified recent intermittent power outages across the country, attributing the disruptions to an aggressive transformer upgrade exercise. ECG says the upgrades are designed to reduce system losses and improve reliability as electricity demand continues to rise nationwide. Addressing a press briefing this afternoon, Managing Director of the ECG, Engineer Julius Pengpena, announced that these works are part of a broader 3 billion investment designed to modernize Ghana's power transmission infrastructure over the next 24 months. Let's listen to exactly what the MD said during this press briefing.
Of our valued citizens. While power supply across most parts of the country has remained relatively stable, we are fully aware that some communities within the ECG operational area are experiencing intermittent outages and low voltages. We recognize the inconvenience and disruption these challenges impose on households, businesses, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions. We would like to assure you that we do not take these concerns lightly. It is the result of years and indeed decades of underinvestment in the planning of one of our most critical segments of the electricity supply chain, that is the distribution sector. I must acknowledge that within the last few weeks, we have launched the government's transformer upgrade and replacement program and have completed, ahead of schedule, the upgrade and replacement of power transformers at our Adenta, Imaijong, and Lashibi primary substations. Some of these power transformers being replaced today are over 2 decades old. The demand for far outweighs the capacities of these power transformers. With the upgrades, the newly installed power transformers have increased capacity and can supply hundreds of homes and businesses.
And you had the MD for the Electricity Company of Ghana, Engineer Julius Pengpena, speaking about current power outages. We go to the Ashanti region now, where we understand that a shop containing goods worth thousands of cedis has been burnt at the Kejetia Dubai market. Earlier today, a swift response by firefighters prevented a spread to other shops. William Evans Inkum joins us live on the phone with some updates. William, if you can tell us what the situation is now and perhaps how the fire started. We've lost William Evans Inkum on the line. You're still here on Sri FM 92.7 listening to the Midday News. We'll be back shortly.
Accra, Ghana, Africa and worldwide.
Let's go to William Evans Inkum now, who has an update on this fire incident in the Ashanti region. William, tell us what the current situation is and perhaps how the fire started.
Well, so it's pretty calm. Early on, people are just running helter-skelter because of some level of apprehensive that maybe the fire could be spreading to other shops. But firefighters were able to contain the situation, and now only one shop, I can say, that was affected as far as this morning fire disaster, the cedi Dubai market is concerned.
Let's hear the one of the shop owners talking about this, and then I'll come back to you to conclude our conversation.
Manches and cookie support now would be that dear, and that is support no one. I am a baby just a manches and a dawson, and a bianso and a bow, and that is supporting now. It's not a mess, and Uncle Pombeca will be a common normal boame. To me, to your canoe.
And you had one of the traders who obviously has lost a lot. William, if you can tell us what she was saying in Chi and what more you can add to this very issue.
Well, okay, so she is actually the shop owner. I'm talking about the shop that was gutted. She deals in matches. Well, the one we use to light gas and what have you, or cooker. So what she was saying is that she's lost a lot. She was operating with a loan, and that she's calling on philanthropists to help her start her business again. So that was all that she was saying.
And Beatrice, do we know any further steps that security agencies will be taking to, safeguard the situation, although they've been able to quench this fire?
Well, Beatrice, so it has reignited the debate on explosives. I'm talking about traders dealing in explosive stuff, or things that are highly flammable. But I have been speaking to management of Kejetia, and they are saying that they've actually grouped them into categories. Those they will consider highly inflammable products. Those people have been evicted from the shops, even though they are getting reports that some of them have been sneaking in with the product. They are still on the ground, making sure that these people do not get any access to the market. In the case of this particular woman, what they are saying is that they don't consider her product to be, part of those that they consider to be highly, inflammable ones. So she is for now exempted from that category. But they continue to ensure that people trading in the market, go according to the rules, and they also not do anything that will spark fire or put the facilities in danger.
Thank you very much, William Evans Inkum. He's our lead Ashanti regional correspondent. Let's listen to DO3 Ebenezer Opoku, who is the Kejetia fire commander, speaking earlier to the press.
I'm say anopa about 8:46 year and yenyanti say eja ato Kejetia store Bawku mu. First floor F2230 inti ye diemika ebaye ampa so ye baye no na eja no edem a ehye inti ntam ha na no ye use hose way ewo market him ha say ya install market ya say because market ya say no 24 hours ya ye ready fire ready say eja bia bebia ni betumi ade aso ano inti ye use hose way na within 5 minutes na ye dum ja no.
And you heard there the Ashanti Regional Fire Commander, DO3. Well, he's the Ashanti Regional Police Fire Commander DO3 Ebenezer Opoku speaking to us, and he actually represents the Kejetia unit. We stay in the Ashanti region because the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has also begun its second zonal public hearing to examine financial irregularities captured in the 2024 report of the Auditor General of Ghana. This week's sitting held in Kumasi will focus on 4 key reports, including the accounts of district assemblies, the management and utilization of the district assemblies common fund and other statutory funds, as well as the public accounts of pre-university educational institutions, public institutions and colleges of education. Ibrahim Abubakar is my colleague monitoring this event in the Shanti region. He joins us live on the phone. Ibrahim, which assemblies have so far appeared before the committee and any key issues that have come up?
Well, Beatrice, so far is the Joaboso District Assembly that has been sitting. After Joaboso, we will be having 5 more assemblies, all from the Western North region to climax the day. But basically, for Joaboso, it had to do with infraction on uncollected revenue, which means they failed to collect some revenue to a tune of 126,000 Ghana cedis. And also, there were also infraction of insufficient revenue collection. For the members, they were concerned why the assembly will be paying revenue collectors to a tune of over 124,000, while the revenue collectors only bring 50,000 Ghana cedis. This means that they are paying them more than they are bringing. And the justification that the finance officer has been given out to do with some of the revenue collectors being lactating mothers, others being pregnant, and the likes. And this is what even angered even, I would say, the chairperson of the assembly, or the committee rather, Abena Osei, who said this shouldn't be used as an excuse, because these are staff who are being paid to deliver a service, and for that matter, we shouldn't be using the justification of being pregnant also. And for that, they have asked them to re-strategize going forward to deploy most commissioned staff in collecting some of the revenue. There has also been issue of unaccounted fuel, 150,000 Ghana cedis, that the committee has recommended that the finance office be made to pay, because as we speak, since 2024 till date, the finance office has not been able to bring proof of using those fuel for traveling, and even where they went to use that 150,000 Ghana cedis worth of fuel. So that one, the DFO has been asked to pay for that amount. He said he will bring them the documents that later in the day. They've given him up to 24 hours to bring those documents or be made to pay those amount of money. So basically, those were the issues that have so far come on board. And like I said, they are still in the meeting from Joaboso. We have other assemblies who also be taking their turns to answer some questions.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's Ashanti Regional Correspondent. Now, concerns are mounting within the Conference of Heads of our sister secondary schools over the growing difficulty in feeding students across second cycle institutions in Ghana. CHA says delays in the release of government funds coupled with rising food prices are putting enormous pressure on school authorities tasked with providing daily meals for boarding students. Her teachers warn that the current situation is becoming unsustainable, with some schools forced to reduce portion sizes or rely on credit from food suppliers just to keep kitchens running. The association is also raising alarm over the impact on student welfare and academic performance. As the situation unfolds, education stakeholders say swift intervention will be critical to prevent further disruption to the academic calendar and to safeguard the well-being of thousands of students across the country. Let's speak to General Secretary of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, Gapsin Kofi Raphael. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice. It's nice having you.
Indeed. What has been your assessment so far of the food supply situation in senior high schools?
First of all, thank you very much. Per my checks with our various school-based PTAs and also from an audit of the system from where we sit, the major challenge has to do with perishables, but not necessarily there's no rice, there's no beans, there's no maize, or any other food-related stock in the schools. But the issue has to do with perishables.
And
when we say perishables, we are dealing with
tomatoes, onions, I know.
Those things that have to complement the main food to provide the soup or the stew That is the challenge in the schools. And definitely, affairs of schools, if for about 7 months, this thing has been in limbo and they have to find their own means to support, to do balancing act, to keep the system running, definitely they'll get exhausted and they'll have to probably raise up their shoulders and then try to raise the issues for stakeholders to look at it.
We've heard Charles talking about how dire it is, how serious it is, but from your assessment, how dire is the situation?
The truth of the matter is that I know that they can survive this week, but per my intel and per the information that I've also picked, for her to raise issues to this level, then it means that they can only manage it probably maximum a week. And within this week, per my intel I've picked, I think that the government is trying to see how it can resolve the issues.
And any information you've received from government as regards perhaps the kind of response needed at this time?
Let me put it this way, not officially communicated, but per my intel and per my sources, it is becoming clear that the Ministry of Finance has probably given permission for them to do the obvious.
Thank you very much. And you heard the Gapsin Kofi Raphael. He is the General Secretary of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations. Thank you very much for speaking to us. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM 92.7.
Greetings in the name of His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie.
So here on the Midday News on 3FM and 92.7, some 24 minutes past the hour of 12. Now, the Energy Committee of Parliament is currently on the way to Tema to tour some power generation stations. First up will be the West Bone Station and later Sunon Asogli Power Plant. Tomorrow, other power sector agencies on site will be visited. Also, the Environment Committee is visiting the Tema Oil Refinery, which is related to this. My colleague Christian Yale is on standby. He is with the teams. He joins us live on the line. Chris, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, so Beatrice, as I speak, the Environment Committee has arrived. Even before they get to Tema Oil Refinery, they are currently at Central Oil Refinery, where they are engaging management, and then a few minutes from now they will be touring the plant itself to ascertain for themselves how the operations are going there. I am with the Energy Committee right now at the bulk oil storage and transportation board, the Accra Plains Depot, which serves as as the mother depot for all the other depots that BOS has across the country. Now, in the wake of the U.S., Israel-Iran war on Iran, it has become necessary that the Energy Committee undertake this tour to more or less find out from these power sector energy storage facilities about their readiness to store enough fuel and supply for the country should situation get out of control. Again, they would seek to know from BOS some of the challenges that they are facing here so that the committee can then tailor the necessary recommendations to help in dealing with some of those challenges. So very shortly, currently they are locked in an off-camera conversation with leadership of BOS. Right after that, they will come out and then we'll begin to tour the depot itself where you have the tankers storing the various fuel and gasoline products, and then we'll get to know the challenges thereof, and then whatever the recommendations will be, the committee will table them for Parliament to take action or for the government to take action.
What about the Energy Committee? What can you tell us about the visit of members as well?
Yes, so the Energy Committee is the one that is currently...
As in the Energy Commission, I beg your pardon. The Energy Commission,
yes.
I beg your pardon.
Yes. So they are currently with the BOS, and then I know that the Environment, Science and Technology Committee is also looking at issues around the Central oil refinery, and after that they will go to the Tema oil refinery. And you know that, Beatrice, these are very critical, agencies or refineries that matter when it comes to the country's oil product and then the supply thereof. You know that recently there have been issues about even, stripping off the one cedi fuel levy and all of that, and the concerns about how government is absorbing some of these, the cost on some of these petroleum products to cushion, Ghanaians in the wake of the escalating prices emanating from some global shocks. And so they are doing that aspect, and then the Energy Committee, right from their deliberations and tour of the BOS depot here, they would then proceed to the Sunon Asogli power plant as well to go and look at the issues there. It is all in the aim of trying to find out the gaps and then where the country can strengthen its gains in the shock in the face of the global shocks that we are experiencing.
Thank you very much, Christian Yale, following the Energy Committee of Parliament as well as the Energy Commission as they tour different parts to assess what's going on. Now, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, has arrested 6 Chinese nationals found actively engaged in illegal mining operations along the Nyase River, a tributary of the Tano River at Kunso, Jiang Kotabo in the Ahafo, a north-south district of the Shanti region. The operation also led to the recovery of 2 pump-action guns, 102 cartridges, a vehicle, and 60,000 Ghana cedis in cash, making it one of the most significant single operation arrests of foreign nationals in recent enforcement history. We'll bring you more later. That's it for the Midday News here on Sri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to srinews.com for more news.
Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, investors pivot as government treasury bill faces fifth consecutive under subscription. Also, Ghana Chamber of Agribusiness welcomes government's move to cut imports on tomatoes but calls for efforts to other key commodities in the country's basket. Plus, Ghana's economy shows resilience despite seasonal slump at start of 2026. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please stay. And thank you so much for your time. Let's bring you some stories now. And the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, is calling for a significant increase in its share of the country's import levy to help expand its operations. The authority says it currently receives 10% of the levy, but wants that double to 20%. Management argues the increase would strengthen support for exporters and drive growth in the sector. Speaking at the launch of the authority's 2025 non-traditional export report, the chief executive, Francis Kojo Arthur, said export earnings have already risen from around $3 billion to $5 billion under the current funding arrangement. He says that demonstrates the potential for further growth with increased financial support.
5.006 billion United States dollars in non-traditional export earnings, a 30.7% increase, expanded global reach, and a more competitive export base were achieved with only 10% of the 0.75% import levy in accordance with Section 29, subsection 2 of the Ghana Export-Import Ban Act 2016, Act 911. This level of performance, accomplished with such limited funding, highlights the efficiency of GEPA's efforts, the remarkable return on investment, and the significant impact of export-driven promotional activities. Madam, ladies and gentlemen, if 10% of the import levy can generate export earnings in excess of $5 billion United States dollars, then we firmly believe that 20% will yield even higher non-traditional export earnings in realization of our 10 billion target set by GEPA by the year 2030.
So that was the CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Francis Kojo Kwarteng, speaking. Responding to the request, Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare says the government is open to discussions on increasing funding support for exporters. She says strengthening export capacity remains a key priority for government as it looks to boost foreign exchange earnings and diversify the economy.
It is a proposal GEPA has made. Of course, GEPA needs to be funded a bit more so that they can expand what they are doing, because we need to create the market for the people. We need to create the enabling environment for people to export. And so I agree with him that we have to look for some more funding to help GEPA become what we intend it to be. But I like the start, and I'm so sure that if we give a little more, they can do much better.
Something you consider approving?
Something I'll consider. Something I'll consider. Thank you very much. Not approving, something I'll consider. I'll consider the discussion based on the funds available. We'll all work together to ensure that we resource GEPA.
So that was Minister for Agribusiness, Industry and Trade, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, speaking there. Now to our top story, and government's latest Treasury bill auction recorded its fifth consecutive undersubscription of the year, signaling continued caution among investors and amid low yields. The rate of subscription was 91.79%, translating into an undersubscription rate of 8.21%. The following three Business News Desk report has more.
The auction held on April 17, 2026 saw government set an ambitious target of 4.89 billion cedis. However, total bids from investors fell short, amounting to 4.488 billion cedis. Of this amount, the government accepted 4.09 billion cedis across the three tenors. 91-day bill received offers of 2.555 billion cedis. Government accepted 2.541 billion cedis at a yield of 4.94%. The 182-day bill received bids totaling 771 million cedis, with 758 million cedis accepted by government at an interest rate of 6.9%. With the 364-day bill, despite receiving offers of 1.162 billion cedis, government accepted 790 million cedis, with the yield for this longer tenor standing at 10.12%. Analysts suggest that while liquidity exists in the market, the sustained undersubscription indicates a potential misalignment between government's borrowing appetite and investor return expectations in the current economic climate.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Meanwhile, a significant shift in Ghana's financial landscape is underway as Government Treasury Bill recorded their 5th straight week of undersubscription. Investors are increasingly pivoting towards high-yield alternatives as the demand for private sector credit intensifies. Finance and tax analyst Nelson Kudjo-Kwagweji notes that this trend signals a strategic move by investors seeking higher returns outside the traditional government short-term debt.
The undersubscription can partly be attributable to investor appetite for short-term instruments, despite the marginal increase in the rate across all maturities. Investors are just shifting their attention to other instruments that can give them a higher returns. I mean, at the end of March, inflation was at 3.2%. The 91-day, 182-day, and the 364-day rate are marginally higher than that of inflation. However, investors are just moving their attention to other high-yielding instruments. The undersubscription can equally be attributable to a mismatch between government borrowing target and available liquidity within the market. Maybe the government is setting too much or too ambitious targets, and that cannot meet the liquidity needs of the market.
That was finance and tax analyst Nelson Kudjo-Kwagweji speaking. The Ghanaian economy displayed a complex performance at the beginning of 2026, characterized by robust annual growth in consumer spending and manufacturing, even as seasonal trends led to sharp monthly declines. According to the March 2026 monetary policy report from the Bank of Ghana, consumer resilience remained a highlight. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. We'll bring you our soundbite in our subsequent bulletin. But then, as government steps up efforts to attract investment into Ghana's tomato sector, industry players are calling for a broader push to cut reliance on agricultural imports. The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana says policies should go beyond tomatoes and target a wider range of food imports in the country's basket. The call comes as Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman reaffirmed government's commitment to investing in infrastructure to support agribusiness with a focus on tomato production and value addition. She gave the assurance during a meeting with executives of GB Foods in Barcelona as part of efforts to reduce dependence on imports while expanding exports of processed tomato products. The CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, Anthony Morrison, says addressing these concerns will be critical to achieving the government's wider industrialization agenda.
This is a welcoming news to the industry and the agro-industry as a whole. For the Chamber, we've been very clear from day one. We cannot actualize government's own vision and the president's vision of agro-industrialization and the accelerated export development program when we continue to import heavily. What we are also looking at is that government must also reduce total complete importation across board. For instance, how do we actualize the 24-hour economy when we are encouraging factories to integrate 24-hour production in their system while we are still opening our borders for importation to come in? So this is a very good call. The Chamber of Agribusiness supports Her Excellency, the Vice President, 100% for this call. We're talking about a time where job creation, unemployment rates are going up. The youth despondency with regards to non-availability of sustainable jobs are going up. So these are some of the prudent economic measures that have to be taken.
You heard Anthony Morrison. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.